Hello everyone, welcome to Coder and Boots. So in this video, we are going to talk about how to learn GitLab cicd in just 10 minutes from zero. So I'm going to teach you GitLab right from the scratch. So we don't really need any knowledge of GitLab when you take this session. So the prerequisites for this session is basically you just need to be a programmer or you just need to be a software engineer. So basics of programming, basics of shell scripting, nothing else. Okay, so the remaining things we will discuss and we will learn in this session. So let's get into the session. Okay, so I'm going to move away from the slides. I'm going to show you directly from the GitLab itself. So let's create a GitLab account. Okay, so what you can do is you can just open Google, okay, gitlab.com. so you can, if you are not having an account in GitLab, sign up and create an account for free. There is no cost for a free account, so you can just sign up and create an account. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a new project. I have already created a project, but I will show you how to create it from the scratch. I have already created something here which has all the steps, everything, which has all the required code, everything, but I'm not going to discuss this directly here. Instead, I am going to create a new project right from the scratch. Click on the top, create a new project. So here there are 4 options. You can create a project, blank project, you can create from a template, import a project, or run cicd for an external repository. So I'm going to create a project from the scratch, create a blank project. You can give a name. I'm going to create DevOps from zero. Okay, so I'm going to create a project DevOps from zero, and here this is like the project URL. This will be the account name, account URL, and this will be the project path. So by default it will be just the project name. And then deployment target, you can select what is the deployment target. So as you know, GitLab is not just the code repository. So GitLab helps you to basically do version control of the code. Also it will help you to do the deployment, build. Okay, so all these operations it will help you to do. So that's why you will see where you want to deploy this code. So let's say you are developing a Python application and you wanted to deploy it to a Kubernetes environment as a container. So in that case, the deployment environment you will see select as Kubernetes. So finally, what it will internally be doing is it is going to create or adjust the project template according to the option that you select. So I'm not going to select anything here. I'm just going to leave it blank because this is an optional option. Okay, so then visibility you can select private or public. So private means this will be accessible only to the people that you grant explicitly. Okay, grant access explicitly. If you're not enabling the access explicitly, the others will not be able to see this project. So I'm going to create a private project. Public means it will be open, so it will be accessible by just using the project URL. So basically a combination of this and this, so it will be accessible to anyone who has access to internet. Okay, then next is initialize the repository with readme. You know what is readme? It's basically a file which has the documents. So you can write what is there inside the repository. So whatever you wanted to explain about that particular project, it's basically like a note or a readme kind of a file. Okay, so it will just create a file. If you're not creating it also, you can create it later. So but I'm just keeping it as is. Initialize the repository with readme. Click on create the project. So it will create quickly something like DevOps from the scratch. You can see a log button over here. So that's basically that means it's a private repository. This is how you can identify whether the project is private or public. If there is a log button, that means private. If it is the other way, it is public. So now if you see, this is an empty repository. It just has a readme file. So you see there are there is some default content. You can adjust this. You can just modify it according to your wish. So what I am going to create here is I'm going to just create a structure and write a code inside this. So just to show you what to do with this. Okay, so what I'll do is I have the empty project. I'm going to clone this to my laptop and I'm going to commit a code directly here. So what I'll do is, so here if you see here in the code section, you can see clone with SSH. Okay, and if you expand this option on the top, you can see new file, upload a file, new directory. There are several options. Create a branch, new tag. There are several options, but in real world scenario, we are not going to create like the files directly by creating new file or upload a file. We will use this option, but not like much. In general, what we do is we use like the Git client or some other things to commit the code here. So as we have explained in the previous videos, so what I am going to do is I am going to basically clone this repository and add the code from my laptop. Okay, so let me open git bash in my command line. Okay, so here I am going to get inside a directory where I can do something. I am going to create mkdir DevOps shop. Okay, so this is a fresh directory. I'm going to clone this repository, git clone. Okay, git clone and the URL paste. So here if I click enter, it's cloning directly and it is not asking me any credential because I have already used this credential. I have already used this GitLab sometime back. Okay, that's where my credentials are cached in this machine. So if you are using it for the first time, you will be asked for credential, and from where you can find the credential, basically at the top you can see edit profile. Okay, if you expand the user icon, edit profile is there. Expand the edit profile, then on the left hand side you will see access tokens. Okay, so in the access token you will have to create a new access token. So if you create a new access token, it will ask you what is the expiry date. You can select when is the expiry date, so you can select it accordingly, and then you can select what is the scope. Okay, so if you are using it just for reading and writing a repository, that is what I mean, we are doing it right now. If you are just using it for basic repository with the project related project repository operation, you can use read repository and write repository. Okay, but if you are using it for some other API calls like read registry, write registry, that means package registry or any other operation, you will have to use the remaining option. In this scenario, whatever I am going to show you, you just need the read repository and the write repository privileges. Okay, and post that you can create the token and you can copy the token. So I already have a token, so that's why I don't really need a token here. So now if you see, that's the code is cloned here. Okay, and if I do ls, you can see DevOps from 0, the directory got cloned here. So cd DevOps from 0, so you can see main that is showing up here because I have cloned, and the default branch is the main branch. Okay, this is the main branch. That's why if you want to change the branch, I have already explained in one of the previous videos. Please go and watch the video. So, but if I do ls here, you can see it is just the readme file. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create basically I'm going to code right now. Okay, so what I can do is I can open this in basically PyCharm. So this is my IDE. So you can use maybe PyCharm, or you can use like any IDE of your choice, maybe Visual Studio Code or whatever you want. So I'm going to open this directory from PyCharm. So this directory is something which is present in my laptop. If you see the path, it is somewhere inside pwd. Let me check this directory. So this is inside C users coder workspace DevOps from 0, right? So this is the path, C : users coder workspace DevOps workshop DevOps from 0. So let's open the directory from here. So open, and it's C user coder expand, and then there is coder, and then what is there? Coder. After coder it is workspace. So let's search for the workspace directory here. Yeah, this is the workspace directory, and inside workspace we have DevOps workshop, and inside DevOps workshop we have DevOps from 0. So this is basically our project. Okay, so yeah, this is what we have. So the other one was a different project. If you see DevOps from 0, and you can see the readme also here. So this is the readme file. Okay, so now what I am going to do is I am going to create a directory, a subdirectory here. Okay, new. Okay, I am going to create a Python. Okay, okay, I'm going to create a Python package. So Python package is nothing, it is just a directory with an init file. So I'm going to create a subdirectory code. Okay, because I wanted to store inside this. Okay, so add, then inside code what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Python file. Okay, my employee or so let me add a simple Python code that is basically, that's just an API. So sample API.py. Okay, so this is my sample API.py. Okay, so what I will do is, so it's asking already, because as it is already a git location, that's why the PyCharm is already asking me to add it. Okay, so that's why the pop-up, came. So here if you see, I already have a sample Flask program. So what I'll do is I'm going to copy the code from here, or you can even get it from the internet. Just do like Python Flask API example. Just do a simple Google search, so you will get, yeah, this is like, I mean, another one code. So you can find a piece of code from the internet. Okay, so I just took something from like whatever I have in my laptop. So it has basically two endpoints. One is the slash thank you from root, and it has another subpath /subpath. It is basically thank you from subpath. So, and it is basically a simple Python Flask API. Okay, so I'm going to copy the code from there to here. Okay, so this is my code. So I have the code here. Now what I need is, I need to basically add the dependencies. Okay, this is using Flask, right? So let's see what's the dependency for Flask API. So just do again a Google. It is basically Python Flask only, pypi Flask. So from the PyPy repository, so we will find what is the dependency for it. It is a Flask package. Okay, so what we need is, now we need to add the dependencies to this project. So at the root of the project, we will add a file called requirements.txt. So I'm just showing, like, I mean, how a developer is doing the development activity. You see this, it's asking a pop-up, add a file to Git. So if you're not adding also, I'll show you how to add it later. So you can just click on add. So Flask equal to, we need to add the version 3.0.2. Okay, 3.0.2. Now we have the code and the dependency. It's a simple structure. I'm not creating a complex structure. A simple structure with requirements.txt and a piece of Python code. Okay, so now we have both the things which is available in my local. So now let's commit it back to Git. How to commit it back to the Git? Now if you see here, let's come back here. So you see the code is there, requirements.txt is here, because we have done the coding through the PyCharm. We opened this location directly from the PyCharm. That's why we are able to like, I mean, create this code, I mean, the requirements.txt and add the code. Now let's do git add dot. So git add dot is not really required, because when we created those files in the PyCharm itself, it asked, there was a pop-up directly asking whether to add it directly or not. So I am anyway showing it how to add if you're not adding it there. Git add dot. Okay, so it's okay. So in the working copy inspection, LFS will be replaced. Okay, that's fine, because you already did that add. So now we will do is git, okay, commit -m, committing the code with Python, committing the initial version of the code, right? Initial version code. So git commit -m. Okay, you see now it commits all the changes. Okay, because I've created like several files, right? I added several lines of code. All those things it's going to commit. Now we need to go do git push, because we need to push it to the remote registry, right? So then only it will be pushed to the GitLab registry that we have over here. Because right now, if you refresh here, you won't see the code here. Okay, you won't see the code here, but because we have not pushed. So I'm going to push it. Now you see it's pushed. You can see it is pushed from the local main to the remote main. Okay, and it is pushing all the changes to the remote repository. Now let's refresh. You see the code came. Okay, and you see the sample API came. We have the code. Okay, now we have the code and the commit happened. So this is like, I mean, this is how a developer makes changes to the code which is present in a repository. Okay, so we have used Git client, we have used an IDE, a PyCharm, you can use Visual Studio Code or whatever you have, and then we have the Gitlab. So this is the first part. The second part is I will show you how to enable the CI/CD. CI/CD means right now we just committed the code. How to enable a pipeline over here that can do a build operation. So I'm going to show you a simple pipeline, but you can maybe like expand it to the next stage. Like you can maybe add more stages to that. So I'm going to create a simple pipeline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy a pipeline template from one of my existing repository. So for that, first thing, we need to create a file. If you want to do GitLab CI, you need to create a file over here. So for the creation of the file, I am going to use the new file option available here. So click on new file, and here you can see there is an option gitlab.gitlab okay -ci.yaml .gitlab-ci.yaml okay .gatlab-ci.yml. So apply template, no, not required. So I'm just creating it from the scratch, and let's copy this contents. Okay, so I'll explain you the content. So first is like, we need to define the stages. Okay, stage is basically we can say like, the various phases of this particular pipeline. Okay, so each stage will be like a separate we can say like, it is a separate phase of the pipeline. So I'm going to explain you something which has two stages. One is a build stage, and second is a push to registry stage. Push to registry means what I'm trying to do is I'm going to build the code. So there is something called PyInstaller in Python. So if you just Google search for PyInstaller, you will see something here. So from the README, what you can do is you can understand what it is. Basically, it will help you to. So if you see the code over here, you can see the source code visible directly from your laptop. So wherever you deploy, you will see the source code. But with PyInstaller, what you can do is you can just create a single deployable. Single deployable means for this program to run, you need to basically have the dependencies installed, everything, right? But let's say you wanted to deploy it somewhere and you don't want the dependencies to be manually installed every time. So you can bundle everything into a single file. Okay, so basically it is bundling the Python program and the application in a single file so that it can be executed somewhere. Okay, and this can be deployed. You can create an exe also using this one. You can create an installer that can be installed on Linux or Mac OS or Windows. Okay, so because it will be tricky in Windows usually, because if you want to, let's say if you are just copying a .py file and if you are trying to run it on Windows, it needs first Python, then it needs the dependent packages. So for a non-programmer or for a normal business person, it will be very difficult to execute a Python program or run a Python program in a Windows machine. But if you are packaging it into a single exe, so this PyInstaller will help. So because then in that scenario, you don't need to you don't really need a Python installable over there. You just need this single deployment file. It will be an exe, just double click, that will run in the Windows machine without any dependencies. Okay, so I'm going to create a deployment package using PyInstaller. So for that, what we need to install a Python package called PyInstaller. So that's what I am going to do in the build phase. So this is like, the build job. So inside the stages, so the structure is we need to define the stages. I defined two stages. One is a build and second is a push to registry stage. So now this is the explanation of the build stage. This is a job. Okay, within a stage I can have multiple jobs. Okay, so within the build stage I have a job called build job. Okay, in the build job, so when you are defining a job, you need to define the stage, which stage the job belongs to. So I have defined it is there in the build stage. Okay, and then this is like I'm in the image means I'm going to use Docker. Okay, and Docker for running this particular like build operation. So I'm using Docker runner. Okay, so I have already explained about GitLab runners in one of my previous videos. Watch it for more details. So this is like I'm in the base image that needs to be used in the Docker runner. So I just used Alpine latest. Okay, so I'm then creating, this is like I'm in the script section. Script section is basically inside the build job I am defining what all things we need to do. So this is just Linux scripts. Okay, so inside this, if you see, this is basic shell scripts. I'm going to create a directory called artifacts. So why I am creating this? Because I need to share my final outcome of this particular job somewhere else. So you can create any directory of your choice, because finally I am going to expose that directory from the job here. So in GitLab pipeline, there is an option called artifacts. Okay, you can share the output or you can share folders between various jobs. Okay, because this, when you see the output, so when you do like the execution of this is going to run in a separate container. This is going to run in a separate container. So the way you can share between this is using artifacts. There is something called artifacts, and if you expose a path, what will happen is this will be shared with other jobs. Okay, so if you're not sharing it with artifacts section, it will not share. This will run independently and this will run independently. Okay, so here I'm going to create a directory, and then I'm just doing ls. Then I'm going to install some dependencies. Okay, this is like I'm in Alpine, that's why I'm using APK. APK is basically the package manager in Alpine Linux, and inside Alpine Linux I'm just using APK update, and then the next command is I'm installing Python first. Python 3, Python dev, Python setup tools, Python pip, bin utils, zip and unzip. Okay, I'm basically installing some of these dependent packages for my Python and my zip operation. So once I have that, next is I'm going to install like PyInstaller packages. Okay, and then I'm going to install basically the packages in the requirements.txt. that is basically the dependencies for my Python program. So in my requirements.txt I have what I have like my Flask package. Okay, then I have a directory, I'm going inside that. So this the file name is different in our case. It is not employee data, it is something else. So we are going to run the PyInstaller command. So this will create what? It will create the the build, basically the deployable file, single deployable file in this stage. Okay, so then what I'm doing is I'm going to it will create. So let's practice that instead of like just explaining. So let's copy the content of this file and paste it into our directory. Okay, so what I will do is, what is our code name? It is sample api.py, right? .py. So I'll comment push to registry section here. Okay, push to registry, I'm going to comment it here, and I'm going to comment the push job. I'm going to comment the push job part. So let's see what will happen. Okay, so I'm just doing it till here. The remaining part I'll comment it. So now let's commit the change. So the goal is basically when I commit the code, I want a pipeline to run, and I want the pipeline to create a build and store it in my GitLab package registry. So in GitLab there is something called a package registry to store the build artifacts. Okay, so that package registry you can see inside GitLab. If you are inside a project, there is something called deploy, and inside deploy you will see releases, feature flags, package registry, container registry, model registry. So model registry is for storing AI models, container registry is for storing containers, basically Docker images, package registry is for packaging or storing the artifacts. So I'm going to run this pipeline, and I'm going to basically, my goal is to store an artifact in the package registry. Now if you see in this package registry, it's empty. So after the end of this program, so the goal is to create a package over here. Okay, so let's run with this part. So remaining part I have commented. So it's basically create, okay, then like what, apk update python 3 dev pip install, okay, requirements cd code pyinstaller, and then we need to see what happens. So first thing is how to run this, or how to basically trigger this ca run. Okay, so that needs to be triggered, right? So that will get automatically triggered when you make a commit to this repository. So let's do a small change of code here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a comment here. Okay, so just make some changes, like first API, on that prints subpath. Okay, and now this is just a comment. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add thank you from subpath code void. So I made some change here. So now what I'll do is in this git itself. Okay, so now we made some change, right? Git add dot, okay, git commit -m, because we need to update this change, right? -m updated code with comment. So you can see one file change, two insertions, right? Because git already tracked those change. Now I'll do git push. Now you see it will push those change rejected. Okay, fetch first. Yeah, okay, this is another problem. So basically it is showing fetch first means what happened, I made some change. Okay, I made some change on the repository, remote repository here. What change I made? I added the git ci YAML, right? So but I did not make, or I did not take the code, those changes directly to the local, right? So the first thing I need to do is I need to pull the latest code, okay, before doing the commit directly from there, because this is causing a merge conflict. Merge conflict means my remote repository code is more updated than what I have in my local, right? So for that I need to do like basically fetch, right? Git okay, I need to pull what I have in my code. Okay, so what I have in my remote repository to my local, then only I should commit it back to the git. That's why I did fetch. So now you will see if I do a fetch, you will see, oh sorry, ls-al. If you see, you can see I pulled things from there. So now I should be able to commit it. So let's go inside the code, cat sample API. Okay, now git add dot git commit -m initial no updated code with comments git push. Okay, so again it's showing updates were rejected because the tip of the current branch is behind. Git pull, it's asking us to do a git pull first. Okay, merge, so it is basically here we are trying to do the merge conflict part. So please enter a commit message to explain why this merge is necessary, right? So line start with hash will be ignored. Okay, file change, merge. Okay, let's see what happens in the remote repository. Now git push. So now we did the pull. Okay, now let's see whether we have the latest in the local. Okay, now git push. Now let's do git push. Okay, now what happened? We are able to commit it back. So what we have done is, so this is a realistic problem. So when we are trying to update or commit something from a repository where the code is not up to date, the first thing is you need to pull it back from the remote repository and then push it back. Okay, so you have to always take the latest from the remote, make the changes and update it back. So now let's see, let's refresh whether our changes came or not. Okay, code run boots authored 1 minute ago, and you will see the sample API. Yeah, here you will see the changes, code modified. Okay, so now you have the GitLab CI also, it has our code, and also you will see the latest code. Now as we have the GitLab CI, let's see whether the pipeline has executed or not. From where you can see the pipeline, on the left hand side you will see an option build. Okay, and this is inside a project, and build you will see something called pipelines. Click on the pipeline, you will see here just 26 seconds ago, no, it's just now, there was a job execution, and let's see what happened. It is a successful job. Okay, so this is the pipeline and there is single job, and that's correct, it's only just one job. So because we have a build job, right? So there were only one stages because we commented the remaining stages. So what happened inside the job? So you will see it is just doing the installation of the packages. So you can see pip install requirements.txt, pip install PyInstaller. Okay, it did apk install and apk update. It created the directory. Okay, so it did all these steps and it successfully completed. That is what I mean we did, right? It successfully completed. We did not do anything else. So now let's go back to the file. Let's see what happened. Okay, so in this file there is nothing much. It is just doing ls-all, right? And it is just doing print artifacts. No, it is basically exposing the artifact. We created this one, we just did PyInstaller of this one, and we just did an ls. Now let's edit this file and even let's see the logs. So inside this pipeline, if you see the job detail, at the end there is something of inside the dist. If you see cd code PyInstaller sample API.py, it did something. Okay, basically this is the entire build, the build operation. And if you see ls-all, you will see it is creating a directory build and dist. Okay, and it has sample API. So what we need is this inside the dist we have something called the sample API. Okay, so inside the dist, that is what I mean, where we have the package. So what we are going to do is we are going to uncomment this. Okay, cd dist, and we are going to uncomment this as well, ls-all. Okay, zip. Okay, and then build operation completed. It's just a echo, and copy this to artifacts. We are going to cp the data, and it is going to copy it to the artifacts path. Okay, that is what I mean, we have it over here, the directory that we have created. So we need to copy the sample API.zip. Okay, so sample API zip. So inside the dist we will have the sample API zip. Okay, so and we will enable the next job as well, the push job. So this is my second job, and with the stage push to registry. So before script I am going to install what zip, okay, unzip and curl. Three things I need, because I don't really need a zip and unzip, so we can comment this zip and unzip. We just need the curl. Okay, so what we will be doing is, so the artifact that we have shared over here, that will be available for this push job. Okay, the second job. So we will install the dependent packages, the curl command, and then what we are going to do is, this is a GitLab specific curl operation. Okay, so this is basically using API. We are going to upload what? The artifacts that we have over here. So artifact means that we have created here. We are going to upload it to the package registry. So we just need to modify, it is not employee data sample API. So, and I'll explain you what this URL is. So if I copy this URL out, let's see what this URL is. So I'll explain what it is. If we copy this URL out, let's create something else. So here, this has, one is header, job token. This is basically a job token. It's basically a credential that allows you to authenticate with this API. So CA job token is something that will be specific to every job. Okay, so this will be internally available in the GitLab itself, and using this token you will be able to interact with everything within a same project, but you will not be able to interact with other projects in the GitLab in your same account using this one. If you want to interact with other projects, you will have to pass a separate token which has access to either the project or the group. But here in this case, we are going to just interact with the package registry within the same project. That's why we are using CI job token. Then upload file is an argument. Okay, artifact, this is my local directory. In my local, I have already created a directory artifacts, right? Sample api.zip. This is something that I passed from the other job. Okay, artifact. This is like, I mean, you can specify the path you have in the local. Okay, and from here to here, this is where the URL CI API for URL. This is basically a GitLab variable. So this will get populated by default. This will give you something like GitLab https://gitlab.com. Okay, and then this is projects. Okay, this is just, so we are framing a URL here. Okay, so CI, this will give the GitLab base URL, projects, and the project ID is the ID of the project. So what's the project ID? So let's go inside the project. So every project in the GitLab will have an ID. So you will see it somewhere here. Let's see that to the home. Somewhere here you will see the project ID that you will let's go. Let's see where we can see the project ID. So personal projects. So it's basically a unique number with which is specific to your project. Usually it will show at the top of the project. I've seen it in okay, in usual I've seen, like, I mean, the enterprise version it is available. Otherwise you will be able to even get it using an API, but let's go to settings. In the general, yeah, this is the project ID. If I go to the settings, you can see a project ID from here as well, but usually it should show on the home page. I used to see it on the home page, but otherwise you can go to the settings and get the project ID. This is a unique number. This is the project name and this is the project ID. Okay, so then the project ID, so that will also get populated. This is just a GitLab variable. You don't really need to worry about this. Then packages, this is basically the path to the package registry. Okay, packages, generic, application, this is something, this is the path that we are going to keep. So application 0.0101, this is the version that we are keeping, and this is, like, I mean, the package that we are uploading. Let's say you wanted to upload 0.02, you can just keep 0.02 here, 0.03 here, like that. I mean, you can pass. Maybe you can even create a variable for this and pass it directly every time you upload. But I'm just going to, in this example, I'm just going to hard code something 0.001 and upload it. Okay, so that is the explanation for this variable. So what we are doing is, using a curl command, we are uploading the artifacts directly from the command line to the GitLab's artifact registry. Okay, so now let's get into the job. So this is what we have. So basically if I uncomment the second stage also, what will happen is we have two stages. So one is the build, second is the push registry. We have two jobs, one is the build job, second is the push job. The build job will be doing the basic build activity, and the push job, what it will do, it will take the artifact which is exposed from the build job and it will push it to the package registry which is present in the same project. So let's commit the change. Okay, so for every commit, so whatever commit you are doing to this particular repository, it will directly run a job. Okay, so let's go to the build section, pipelines. So as we have committed the GitLab pipeline, now you will see an execution here. You will see it's running. Okay, let's click on this, and now it's basically running the build job. So as I have not kept any manual option in the pipeline definition, basically in the GitLab YAML. So whenever it runs or whenever it finds any changes, it directly triggers the job. So it basically failed. Okay, failed means what? Let's see why it failed. So it's because, okay, there is something wrong. Okay, it did not identify the next line character or something. That's why you see it picked up everything as a single line. Okay, that is why it is showing ls no such file or directory, because we just did a copy paste, right? It screwed up something. Yeah, that is the reason. You see the spaces, the alignment, misalignment of the spaces. So let's align it properly, because we just did a copy paste. That is why it screwed up everything. So if you get into any error, just read the error message. It will help you to identify what went wrong. So now I fixed the spacing. Now let's commit it back. Now you will see again another job. So in the pipe, let's go to the pipelines. You will see a pipeline running. Let's click on the running pipeline. Now it's in the build job. Click on the build job. It's executing because it is basically picking up a runner. Okay, the build is complete. So it basically pushed the artifact to the second job. That's why you see here, I mean the artifact, uploading artifact, you see, because I have artifact section, right? Gitlab.com API v4 jobs. So it's internally doing an API call internally to push the artifact to the second job. So now let's see the second job. Okay, so this is the build job, right? Now you will see the push to registry part. Let's select the push to registry job, which is part of the same thing. Okay, so push to artifact. So what is happening is, so it is doing what? It is just doing an ls. The first part it identified, basically it has the code, artifacts, everything. So in the artifacts, so it identified what to upload and it is doing the curl. Okay, and it's showing like what? Upload. It basically upload created 201, job succeeded, right? That means the upload job was success. Now let's refresh the package registry. Okay, it created. So whatever we have defined, if you see in this URL, we have application version sample API.zip, right? Let's see what we have here. We have the application UC 001, that's a version that we created. Inside the application you have the sample API zip. So it basically pushed the artifact directly to the repository. You can see 1 minute ago our commit happened. Okay, now let's again do the same operation. Okay, git fetch. Okay, let's fetch the pull the latest code. Okay, so let's take the code from whatever we have from the remote to the local. Fetch. Let's make one more change. Okay, code modified. Now git pull, okay, git okay, git push. Okay, now it is going to push, and now let's see what happens here. So I pushed it. So immediately, if you see, I just made a change and I pushed it. So in the pipelines, you will see it is creating, it automatically triggered a pipeline run. So that means it committed the code to repository, soon it created a pipeline run. Okay, so soon you can see a pipeline run, and that pipeline run is corresponding to this one. Okay, it is running a build job and push job. Finally, at the end of this build and push job, you will see a package in the artifact registry, in the package registry. So because the previous commit, the previous push was about 3 minutes ago, now let's wait for the pipeline to complete the execution. You will see an updated package in the, so the build job is complete. Now let's wait for the push job to complete. Okay, so let's wait for the push job to complete. Yeah, push is also complete. Now let's refresh here. You will see an update. Okay, quickly you will see an update. So let's go get inside here. You can see just now an updated commit happened. So 4 minutes ago there was one artifact, and just now you will see an artifact, sample API.zip. Okay, so if you want to basically create a different version, what you can do is, instead of 001, you can pass in the URL itself, you can update the version, that version management. So right now I have hard coded it. You can pass it as a variable, or you can use a database or something else to manage and it incrementally and update it every time. So that those are all things that we can do, or modify this and make this better. But this is the simple example that I have. So basically how you will modify code, create a pipeline from the scratch. Okay, do like a complete integration and deploy, build operation, and publishing it to the artifact registry. And the next stage is basically from the artifact registry we can deploy it to a target environment. So that also we can create it as a job similar to what we have. So using the CI YAML itself, we can create another job which can pull it from there and deploy it to the target registry. So the other possible stages that we can have it here is basically some vulnerability check test stage. Then we can have some dependency checks. Okay, we can have some test stages, basically whatever you have committed, right, whether it is meeting the standards or not. Testing can be, one is the code style checks you can do, second is the functionality testing you can do, third is some vulnerability testings you can do. So all these kind of testings you can include and make this pipeline comprehensive. Okay, so right now this is like a very simple pipeline. I hope this example is useful. So if you have any questions or comments, comment below this video. So if you, I'll definitely respond back. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe this channel for more videos if you like this. Thank you very much.